A roadside food seller feeds a homeless man every day. Few weeks later, a convoy of SUV pulled up in front of her shop. What happened next shocked everyone. The morning sun rose gently over the bustling streets of Umuakpara, a lively town where the scent of roasted plantain, pepper soup, and spicy jollof rice drifted through the air long before people fully opened their eyes to the day. It was here, by the roadside near the old junction where travelers stopped to stretch their legs, that Amanda ran her small food stall. The stall was made of carefully polished wooden planks, painted in warm colors that reflected her cheerful nature. A large umbrella, once bright red but faded by years of use, shielded the counter from the sun. Even before dawn, Amanda was usually awake pounding yam, boiling rice, chopping vegetables, and stirring aromatic stews passed down from the women in her family for generations. She was young and humble, with soft eyes that always seemed to carry a kind of quiet hope, and a warm smile she shared as easily as one shares air. Her mother had always said, "My daughter, kindness is never wasted. Feed the hungry, help the lonely, and heaven will reward you." Amanda carried those words in her heart like a sacred treasure. Even when she didn't have enough ingredients to cook or when the cost of Gary rose unexpectedly, she always set aside a small portion for anyone who came with empty hands and a hungry stomach. She believed deeply that food was life and no one should be turned away from it. It was on an ordinary Wednesday morning, one that smelled of fresh rain and the promise of a good market day, that Amanda first noticed the young man who would later change her entire destiny. He sat quietly by the edge of the drainage channel, leaning against an old concrete pillar, his clothes torn and dusty. His beard was rough, his hair unkempt, and his eyes tired. He looked like someone who had been walking for days, maybe weeks. A small nylon bag containing what looked like a spare shirt lay beside him. He was clearly homeless. Most people walked past him, avoiding eye contact. Roadside beggars were not unusual in the town, but this one seemed different. He did not stretch out his hands for help. He did not beg. He simply sat still, his gaze lowered, as if trying to hide from the world. Amanda watched him for a while as she stirred her steaming pot of jollof. Something in his posture, quiet, respectful, almost withdrawn, touched her heart. She wiped her hands on a clean towel and stepped outside her stall. "Good morning, sir," she said gently. The young man looked up, startled. His eyes were surprisingly calm and clear, with a depth that startled Amanda. She had expected desperation, but instead there was dignity, and something else she couldn't quite name. "Good morning," he replied softly, his voice low but polite. "You look tired," Amanda continued. "Have you eaten today?" For a moment, he hesitated, as though unsure if he should answer honestly. Then he shook his head. "No, not today." She smiled warmly. "Come. Let me give you something to eat." He blinked in surprise, his lips parting slightly. No, I don't want to trouble you." "It's not trouble," she insisted, waving her hand. "Please. No one should stay hungry." She helped him up and guided him to the wooden bench beside her stall. As she served a plate of hot rice, peppered chicken, and fried plantain, some passers-by paused to stare. Others whispered to themselves, wondering why Amanda would waste her food on someone who appeared so poor and unwashed. But Amanda paid them no attention. The young man ate quietly at first, taking small bites as if he was afraid the food might disappear. After a while, he looked up at her with a gratitude so sincere that it softened her heart further. "Thank you," he murmured. "I can't remember the last time someone was this kind to me." "You're welcome," she replied. "Eat slowly. There's more if you need it." He smiled, the faintest smile, but warm enough to transform his tired face. When he finished, he attempted to stand and walk away, but Amanda stopped him gently. "What is your name?" she asked. He hesitated again. "My name is Chaik," he said finally. It was a simple name, but something in the way he said it made Amanda feel like there was more to him, something he was hiding. Still, she didn't ask further questions. "Well, Chaik," she said, "if you are ever hungry, just come. I'm here every day." He bowed his head slightly. "I don't know how to repay you." "You don't have to repay me," she answered. "Kindness doesn't always need a reward." From that day, Chaik began to return, quietly, respectfully, never demanding. Sometimes he came in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon. Amanda would give him fresh bread and tea, or a plate of hot soup, or leftover food she packed neatly for him to take away. And each time they exchanged a few gentle words, Nothing too deep, nothing too revealing, but enough for her to feel a growing sense of connection. Still, she knew nothing about him. And he offered no details. Despite his ragged appearance, there was something refined about the way he spoke, the way he held his spoon, the way he thanked her after every meal. He often helped her sweep the stall after closing or fetched water from the nearby well without being asked. The other food sellers at the junction began to whisper. "Amanda is wasting her energy," one woman murmured. "That man is trouble," another said. "Young lady, mind yourself, oh. You don't know where he came from." But Amanda simply smiled and continued as always. She refused to judge anyone by the dust on their clothes. What Amanda did not know, what no one in town could ever have guessed, was that Chaik was not a homeless man at all. He was a billionaire. A man who owned multiple companies across the state. A man who, tired of being surrounded by people who pretended to care because of his wealth, decided to disappear for a while, to dress as a wanderer, to walk among ordinary people unnoticed, to see who would treat him with genuine kindness. And in Amanda, he found what he was searching for, pure, unselfish compassion. One evening, as Amanda closed her stall, she noticed Chaik standing across the road, watching her quietly as though he wanted to say something but held himself back. "Are you okay, Chaik?" she asked. He nodded slowly. "I just wanted to thank you again. You don't know what your kindness means." Amanda laughed lightly. "It's just food." "No," he replied softly. "It's more than that." For a moment, their eyes met, and Amanda felt a strange warmth deep in her chest, but she quickly brushed it aside. He was just someone in need. Nothing more. She didn't know that the seeds of destiny were already being planted. And she certainly didn't know that within a few weeks, a long convoy of black SUVs would thunder down that same roadside and stop directly in front of her stall, changing her life, and the entire town's forever. The days that followed were warm, busy, and full of the familiar rhythm of roadside life. Amanda continued feeding Chaik every day, and he continued showing up with that quiet gratitude that made everyone notice him more. Though he blended easily into the background with his worn clothes and humble posture, people began paying closer attention to him simply because Amanda treated him differently from anyone else. Sometimes Chaik would sit under the large mango tree near the stall, watching the traffic flow by as if he was searching for something. A sign perhaps, or a memory he alone carried. Other times he would talk with Amanda while she cooked, asking gentle questions about her life, her dreams, and her hopes for the future. One morning, she found him sweeping the front of her stall before she even arrived. Chaik, you don't have to do that," she exclaimed, surprised and amused. He shrugged with a shy smile. "You feed me, Amanda. The least I can do is help." Amanda smiled back. "You know you're like a quiet breeze, always doing something helpful without making noise." He chuckled softly. "A quiet breeze. I like that." Their friendship grew, but not in a loud or dramatic way, more like how rivers widen quietly over time. Amanda noticed that though Chaik looked like someone who had faced many hardships, he carried himself with calm dignity. He never begged. Never complained. Never asked for more than she offered. Yet, there was something about him that didn't add up. His English was too polished. His mannerisms too refined. His eyes too observant, always scanning, always analyzing, as if he was used to reading people. One evening, Amanda found herself staring at him longer than usual as he helped her pack up. "Chaik," she began hesitantly, "can I ask you something? You don't have to answer if you don't want to." He looked up, surprised but calm. "You can ask." "Where are you from?" A shadow flickered across his face, so brief Amanda thought she imagined it. He looked at the ground, his fingers tightening on the crate he was carrying. "I've traveled a lot," he said carefully. "Sometimes from place to place. Sometimes from city to city." "That's not what I asked," she replied softly. "I mean, where is home?" For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, finally, "I'm still looking for home." It wasn't the answer she expected, but something in her sensed that he wasn't lying. He might not have given the full truth, but the pain behind the words was real. Amanda nodded gently. "Everyone finds home eventually," she said. "Sometimes it just takes time." Chaik smiled slowly, almost wistfully. "Maybe." As the days turned into weeks, people began to talk more openly about Chaik and Amanda. Some admired her kindness. Others gossiped out of boredom. A few mocked the idea of a young woman wasting her food on a stranger who had nothing to offer. One afternoon, two women, Ada and Duoma, sat across from Amanda's stall, slicing vegetables while whispering in hushed voices. "That young man is always here," Ada said, lowering her voice. "What if he is running from trouble?" Duoma snorted. "Trouble? Me, I think he is just useless. Imagine. A grown man sitting there every day eating free food." "You don't know his story," Ada countered. "Maybe he lost everything." Duoma shook her head. "I beg, anybody can pretend. Amanda is too soft-hearted." Unbeknownst to them, Chike heard every word. He didn't react. He simply sat quietly, staring at the dusty roadside, his expression unreadable. But Amanda saw the subtle way his shoulders tightened. She walked over and placed a plate of food beside him. "Don't mind what they say," she whispered. "People talk when they don't understand." Chike looked up at her with those calm, deep eyes. "Amanda, why are you always kind?" "Because kindness costs nothing," she replied. "And hunger doesn't ask you whether you deserve help before it strikes." He stared at her for a long moment, something shifting behind his eyes. Respect, admiration, gratitude, something deeper. "I hope one day I'll be able to repay you," he murmured. "You already do," she said. "Every time you smile." He blinked, taken aback. No one had spoken to him like that in a very long time. Despite the simplicity of her life, Amanda was a woman with dreams. Some nights, when she was closing her stall, she would sit with Chike under the mango tree and share her thoughts. "I want to build a bigger restaurant someday," she said, her eyes shining. "Not just a roadside stall, something proper, with chairs, tables, even lights. A place where people feel welcomed." Chike listened attentively. "You deserve that and more." "But things are hard," she admitted. "Foodstuff is expensive. Rent is high. And running a business alone. Sometimes I feel I'm pushing a mountain." "You're strong," he said firmly. "Stronger than anyone I know." Amanda laughed softly. "You don't know many people." He laughed too. "I know enough." She glanced at him playfully. "Chike, you talk like someone who has lived two different lives." His smile faltered for just a moment. "Maybe I have." She looked at him, curious but respectful. Something told her that if Chike ever revealed his secrets, it would not be because he was forced, but because he chose. But something else was happening beneath the surface, something Amanda didn't notice, but others did. Every time Chike passed through town, people grew strangely quiet. Some stared. Some whispered. A few even stepped aside without knowing why, as though an aura around him demanded respect. It wasn't because of his clothes or his appearance. It was something deeper, something regal in the way he moved, something refined in the way he thought. Nobody could explain it. But Amanda saw only a man who needed kindness. Late one Friday evening, as the orange glow of sunset washed over the marketplace, Chike approached Amanda wistfully. "Can I walk you home today?" Amanda blinked, surprised. "Why?" He smiled gently. "To make sure you get home safely." She hesitated but nodded. They walked side by side through the lively streets, their footsteps falling into quiet harmony. They talked about small things, rain, food, music. Nothing complicated, but everything felt strangely meaningful. When they reached her small compound, Amanda turned to him. "Thank you, Chike." He nodded. "Good night, Amanda." She lingered a moment before opening her gate. "Will you come tomorrow?" He paused, looking at her closely as if memorizing her face. "Yes," he said softly. "But very soon, things may change." Amanda frowned. "What do you mean?" He shook his head and stepped back. "Good night." And before she could ask again, he walked away, blending into the evening shadows. She watched him until he disappeared, a strange heaviness forming in her chest. Something was coming. Something big. She didn't know it yet, but before the end of the week, the entire town would stand still in shock. The dusty roadside would tremble under the roar of engines. And Amanda's simple food stall would become the center of a story that would spread far beyond Omuakpara. Because unseen forces were already moving. And Chike, the homeless wanderer, was about to be revealed. The following morning came with a restless wind blowing through Umuakpra. It rustled through the palm trees, stirred the dust along the roadside, and whispered through the windows of Amanda's small room as she prepared for her day. She tried to ignore the heaviness she felt in her chest since the previous night, but it lingered stubbornly like an unanswered question. Very soon, things may change. Chaik's words refused to leave her mind. She moved through her morning routine, tied her wrapper, lit the charcoal stove, washed the rice, chopped tomatoes and peppers, but her thoughts kept drifting to him. What could he have meant? Was he leaving? Had something happened? Was he in danger? Amanda shook her head firmly. Let me not think too much, she muttered to herself. Whatever will be, will be. But the uneasy feeling remained. When she reached her stall, she found the marketplace unusually quiet for a Saturday morning. People were moving as usual, but something about the atmosphere felt charged, as if the entire town was holding its breath. Even the old mango tree seemed still. Chaik did not show up that morning. At first, Amanda didn't worry. Sometimes he came late depending on how far he walked the previous day. But by the time the sun began to rise high in the sky, and the smell of roasted fish and pepper stew filled the air, her concern deepened. He will come, she told herself. Maybe he is tired. But deep down, she knew something wasn't right. The women who usually gossiped nearby noticed her distraction. Ada murmured, leaning closer to Nduoma. Amanda's face has changed today. Nduoma shrugged. Maybe her friend didn't come. The one that eats free food. Ada shot her a warning glare. Must you always talk like that? It's kindness she is showing. Kindness is not business, Nduoma retorted. Let her not come and regret it. Amanda heard the last part, but pretended she didn't. She kept stirring her pot of jollof, though her thoughts were far from the food. By noon, Chaik still had not appeared. And then something strange happened. A tall man Amanda had never seen before approached her stall. He was dressed neatly in simple native attire, well-ironed, spotless, clearly not someone from around this dusty part of town. He walked with the confident steps of someone who knew his place in life. He stopped in front of Amanda and studied her quietly. Good afternoon, Ma, he greeted. Good afternoon, sir, Amanda replied, confused. What do you want to buy? The man smiled slightly. I'm not here to buy anything. I came to ask, do you know someone called Chaik? Amanda's heart skipped. Yes. I know him. He usually sits over there. She pointed toward the mango tree. The man nodded slowly, his expression unreadable. He speaks highly of you. Amanda blinked. You know him. The man hesitated, choosing his words carefully. In a way, yes. But who are you? She asked, suddenly uneasy. He gave a polite, guarded smile. Just a family friend. Amanda frowned. Something about the man felt off. Too formal, too controlled, too observant. Has something happened to Chaik? She asked, lowering her voice. The man looked at her for a long moment. He is safe. For now. For now. Amanda repeated, her heart tightening. What does that mean? Where is he? But the man did not answer. Instead, he offered her a small nod and said only, You are a good person, Amanda. Continue doing what you do. Then he walked away. As he disappeared into the crowd, Amanda's uneasiness grew into full-blown worry. What was happening? What was she missing? Why would a stranger know Chaik, speak about him like someone important, and then vanish without explanation? She found herself glancing repeatedly at the road, half hoping, half fearing that Chaik would appear. But he did not. That evening, she closed her stall earlier than usual. Her heart felt too heavy to continue working. The sun had begun its descent, staining the sky with streaks of gold and purple. The warm evening breeze carried the scent of roasted corn and frying akra. Amanda walked home slowly, her feet dragging, her mind racing. When she reached the gate of her compound, she stopped abruptly. Someone was sitting on the front step of her house. Her heart leaped. For a moment she thought it was Chaik. But as she stepped closer, she realized it was someone else entirely, a middle-aged woman with sharp eyes and a dignified posture. She wore expensive clothing. This one did not belong in her neighborhood. The woman looked up as Amanda approached. Good evening, Amanda said uncertainly. Good evening, my dear, the woman replied with a gentle smile. I hope you don't mind me waiting here. Amanda blinked in confusion. Please, Ma, how can I help you? The woman rose gracefully to her feet. My name is Mrs. Nwori, she said. I came to speak with you about Chike. Amanda froze. Her heart thudded painfully against her ribs. Is he okay? The woman's expression softened. He is well. Physically, he is fine. But he is not here. Where is he? Amanda asked quickly. Mrs. Nwori paused. He has been called back. Back? Back to where? The woman looked at her with a kind of pity. Back to his life. His real life. The life he left behind. Amanda stared at her, her breath catching. What are you saying? What real life? The woman took a small step forward, lowering her voice. My dear, Chike is not who you think he is. I know he's been through something, Amanda began. No, the woman shook her head gently. You know the disguise. You don't know the man. Amanda felt the ground tilt beneath her. What disguise? The woman placed a hand on her shoulder. My son is wealthy, very wealthy. And he is highly respected. But he grew tired of fake friendships and deceptive relationships. So he left everything behind for a while, choosing to walk among ordinary people to find someone genuine. Someone real. Amanda's mouth slowly fell open. Wealthy? Highly respected? Left everything behind? Her heart pounded violently. Chike is your son. Yes, the woman said softly. And the moment he met you, he changed. He spoke about you every day. About your kindness, your generosity, your humility. Tears filled Amanda's eyes as the truth hit her like thunder. The dusty clothes. The quiet humility. The strange dignity. The refined manners. The mysterious words. The man earlier at her stall. Everything suddenly made sense. Mrs. Nwori squeezed her shoulder gently. My son sees something in you. Something rare. But now, he has been called home. There are matters he must attend to. Amanda swallowed hard. Will he come back? The woman paused, studying her face. He will, she said softly, but the next time you see him, he will not be the Chike you know. Amanda felt tears burning behind her eyes. She didn't understand why her chest hurt so much. Chike was just a friend, wasn't he? Mrs. Nwori reached into her handbag and pulled out a simple folded note. He asked me to give you this. With trembling fingers, Amanda took the note. He cares for you deeply, the woman said with a warm, knowing smile. And when the time is right, he will return. Then she turned and walked away, leaving Amanda standing at her own doorstep in shock, the note clutched tightly in her hand. The world felt too quiet. Too slow. Too unreal. Amanda slowly unfolded the note. Inside, written in a careful hand, were only 3 lines. Thank you for feeding me when I was a stranger. I will return for you. Chike. Amanda barely slept that night. The note from Chike lay on her small bedside table, illuminated by the faint glow of the moonlight sneaking through her curtains. She read it more times than she could count, each line sinking deeper into her heart. Thank you for feeding me when I was a stranger. I will return for you. Chike. It was simple. It was gentle. It was powerful. By dawn, she still had no answers, only emotions she didn't understand. Was he safe? Was he thinking about her? What did return for you mean? And what would he look like when he came back? When she finally got out of bed, her legs felt heavy, but she forced herself into her morning routine. Life had to continue, even when your heart felt suspended between fear, curiosity, and something that looked suspiciously like hope. She reached her stall just as the sky began to brighten. The morning breeze carried the smell of dew, charcoal smoke, and distant cooking fires. She set up her pots, arranged her ingredients, and tried to appear normal. But her heart was not normal. By mid-morning, the other food sellers noticed her distraction. Amanda, you look pale, Ada said gently. Are you sick? Amanda forced a small smile. I'm fine. Just didn't sleep well. Duoma scoffed, slicing vegetables. It's that homeless friend of hers. Maybe he has gone for good. But instead of annoyance or frustration, Amanda felt a strange sense of protectiveness rising inside her. If he has gone, she said quietly, then he must have a good reason. Ada patted Amanda's shoulder. Don't mind what this one is saying. You have a soft heart. It's good. But their conversation did nothing to calm Amanda's unease. Where was Chaik? What was happening in his real life? And why did she feel like the earth was shifting beneath her feet? By late afternoon, strange things began happening in town. The first sign was in the market square, people whispering, glancing around nervously. Word spread quickly that important visitors had been making inquiries quietly. Some said they saw well-dressed men asking shopkeepers if they knew a young woman named Amanda. Others claimed they saw sleek cars turning into streets where such vehicles had never been seen before. Then came the second sign, a message delivered by a young boy who ran breathlessly toward her stall. "Auntie Amanda," he panted. "A man with a big car asked me to give you this." He handed her a sealed envelope, plain cream-colored, without a name, but clearly expensive. Amanda's hand trembled. She opened it immediately. Inside was a simple note in elegant handwriting. "Prepare your heart. A new chapter is coming." No signature. No explanation. Amanda felt the ground shift beneath her. Who sent this? What did it mean? Was it connected to Chaik? She tried to calm her mind, but nothing made sense. At sunset, Amanda closed her stall, tired both physically and emotionally. She walked home slowly, each step heavier than the last. The evening air was cool, and the sky was painted in streaks of orange, pink, and purple. Children ran around playing games. Mothers called after them. Men returned from work. Conversations floated through the street. But Amanda felt strangely alone. When she reached the gate to her compound, she paused, struck by the sensation that something was different. The air felt too still. Too expectant. She pushed the gate open and stepped inside. Then she froze. A figure was standing near her front door, tall, straight, and unmistakably elegant. Not Chaik. Another man. He wore a crisp black suit, sunglasses, and carried himself with the quiet authority of someone who worked for important people. His posture was stiff, disciplined, almost military-like. Amanda's heart pounded. Good evening," she stammered. The man bowed his head slightly. "Good evening, Miss Amanda." "Who are you? What are you doing in my compound?" "I am here on behalf of someone who wishes to meet you," the man said in a calm, rehearsed tone. Amanda swallowed hard. "Who?" The man removed his sunglasses slowly, revealing sharp, intelligent eyes. "The one you call Chaik." Her breath caught. "He sent you?" "Yes, ma'am." "Where is he?" she asked, her heart leaping with mixed emotions, fear, happiness, confusion. "He is preparing for something important," the man replied. "And he has instructed me to ensure that you are safe." Amanda blinked. Safe? From what? He did not answer. Instead, he reached into his jacket and handed her another envelope, smaller, sealed with a thick golden sticker. "This is from him," the man said. Hands trembling, Amanda opened it. This time, the message was just one sentence. "Be ready tomorrow morning." Amanda's heart raced. Ready? Ready for what? The man bowed slightly again. "Tomorrow at dawn, you will see." "What is happening?" Amanda whispered. He studied her with a calm expression. "Miss Amanda, my advice is simple. Trust him. Everything will be explained soon." And with that, he stepped out of her compound and disappeared into the shadows. Amanda stood frozen at her doorstep, the message pressed against her chest. Be ready. Tomorrow morning. What could possibly be happening tomorrow morning? That night, sleep refused to come. Amanda tossed and turned, replaying every conversation she had ever had with Chaik. His gentle smile. His quiet presence. His mysterious words. His careful way of watching her, as if he was afraid of revealing too much. And now a note telling her to prepare. Her thoughts churned like a storm. The truth was coming. She could feel it. And whatever it was, it would change her life forever. Just before dawn, Amanda rose from bed. She dressed carefully, tying her hair neatly and wearing her best wrapper, a blue fabric with subtle gold patterns. She wasn't sure why she chose it. Something in her spirit told her that today was important. She stepped outside, the early morning air cool and filled with the smell of wet earth. The sky was just beginning to lighten. She walked toward her stall, heart pounding with every step. And then she heard it. Distant at first, like thunder rolling across the highway. Then louder. Engines. Strong. Powerful. Many of them. She turned toward the main road. Her breath stopped. A long convoy of black SUVs, shining, imposing, unmistakably luxurious, was approaching at high speed. People began running out of their houses, gathering along the roadside, murmuring in shock. Who are they? What is happening? Is it government people? Is someone important visiting town? Amanda stood still, unable to move, unable to breathe. The convoy slowed down, then came to a complete stop, right in front of her food stall. Silence fell over the entire street. Children froze mid-step. Women dropped their baskets. Men stared wide-eyed. And Amanda felt her knees weaken. Because the back door of the lead SUV opened slowly. And someone stepped out. Someone she recognized. But not as the dusty, humble man she had been feeding. No. The man who stepped out was dressed in an immaculate white kaftan embroidered with gold. His hair was neatly cut. His beard trimmed. His posture powerful and commanding. He looked like someone born to lead nations. And yet, his eyes were the same. Gentle. Warm. Familiar. It was Chaik. Only this time. He was not disguising anything. He was exactly who he truly was. Amanda's heart stopped. Chaik looked at her and smiled softly. "Amanda," he said in a clear, steady voice that carried through the stunned silence of the street. "I have come back for you." Morning in Izayama usually began quietly, but on this particular day, a soft tension swirled in the air like distant storm clouds. Amanda felt at the moment she stepped into her shop. The sun had barely risen, yet the market women were unusually restless. They spoke in low murmurs, glancing at Amanda as she arranged her pots and ingredients for the day's cooking. She sensed it, but chose not to ask. She had learned that sometimes silence was the quickest road to peace. But her thoughts were not on the chatter around her. They lingered on Kenny. 3 days had passed since he vanished without a trace, and each day had pressed more heavily on her heart. She had fed him for weeks, listened to him, comforted him, and seen him laugh with a gentleness that warmed the coldest moods. He wasn't just a stranger anymore. He had become a quiet part of her daily world, someone she looked forward to seeing. And now, nothing. She stirred the morning pot of jollof rice but realized halfway through the motion that her mind wasn't present. She turned off the stove and sat down quietly on the wooden bench. "Chai, my daughter," Mama Uju's voice floated towards her. "You look worried." Amanda forced a smile. "I'm fine, Ma. Just thinking." "Thinking about that young man you always give food to?" the elderly woman asked with mischievous curiosity. Amanda chuckled softly. "Mama Uju, you notice everything." "I notice good hearts," the old woman replied. "And yours is one of them." Amanda bowed her head slightly, touched by the words. "I just hope he's okay." "He will be," Mama Uju said confidently. "The universe does not abandon those with pure intentions." Amanda nodded, though the ache in her chest didn't ease. By noon, customers began streaming in. Amanda served food as usual, smiling politely, though her smiles lacked the usual warmth. Her eyes continuously scanned the roadside, half expecting, half hoping to see Kenny's familiar silhouette. Her hope was dashed again. Just as she placed a plate of food before a customer, she heard a strange sound, low, distant, growing louder by the second. It was unlike the noise of cars or motorcycles she was used to. The rumble was deeper, more commanding. People began to look up. The ground beneath her feet trembled slightly. Then came the blaring of horns, strong, synchronized, and unmistakably official. Heads turned. Conversations stopped. The entire market seemed to freeze. And then, a long convoy of shiny black SUVs appeared, gliding around the bend like a sleek parade of power. Amanda gasped. It was happening again. "Chinique!" one of the market women screamed. "Another convoy." "No! Who are they looking for this time? This one is bigger than the last." The SUVs rolled slowly into the market square. Their polished surfaces caught the sunlight, flashing silver and gold streaks across the shop walls. Uniformed men sat in the vehicles. Some stepped out to scan the surroundings with professional precision. Amanda's hands trembled. This was far more intimidating than the first convoy. Within seconds, the vehicles pulled up directly in front of her shop, a deliberate stop. Her heart hammered so loudly she wondered if the entire market could hear it. The lead SUV's door opened. A tall, middle-aged man stepped out. His suit was perfectly tailored, his wristwatch glittered like ice, and the confidence in his stride was unmistakable. He surveyed the area with the air of someone accustomed to authority. Two men rushed forward to open the back door for him. Market women and customers scrambled to create distance, terrified but curious. Amanda stood frozen. The tall man approached her shop with measured steps, observing the environment as if confirming something. When he stopped before her, he gave her a polite nod. "Good afternoon, Miss Amanda." Her breath caught. He knew her name. "Good afternoon, sir," she stammered. He smiled, not a cold smile, but a warm, respectful one. "My name is Chief Damien Oluchi," he announced. "I am the chairman of Oluchi Group of Companies." Gasps erupted around the marketplace. People whispered fiercely. "Isn't that the billionaire? The one with companies all over Nigeria? Iwo. What is he doing here?" Amanda's confusion deepened. "Sir, how can I help you?" Chief Damien's eyes softened. "My son told me a lot about you." Your son?" Amanda whispered, startled. "Yes," he replied. "My son, Kenny Oluchi." For a split second, Amanda forgot to breathe. Kenny? The homeless man? This billionaire's son? Her mind struggled to process it. "He has been missing for several days," the chief continued. "We searched everywhere. We questioned his staff. We checked his private residences. No sign of him." Amanda's heartbeat sped up painfully. He hasn't come here either," she confessed. Chief Damien looked around her shop thoughtfully, then returned his gaze to her. "My son disguised himself as a homeless man 3 months ago. He said he wanted to step away from the false friendships and manipulations that came with his wealth. He wanted to experience the world without the weight of his name." Amanda felt dizzy. The chief continued before he disappeared. "Kenny told his mother that he had found someone with a rare heart. He described you, your kindness, generosity, humility, and the way you helped him without expecting anything." Her lips parted in shock. "He said," the chief added gently, "I think I've finally found the kind of human being I've always prayed to meet." Amanda's eyes stung instantly. Tears blurred her vision. She clenched her fingers into her apron to steady herself. "And when we could not find him," the chief said, "we knew the one place he would surely return to was here." He gestured around the shop. "This food stand. This roadside bench. This sanctuary of kindness." Amanda swallowed hard, speechless. "So we came here today," the chief said. "Not to frighten you, but to ask if you know anything that might help us find him." Amanda shook her head slowly, tears falling. "No, sir. I wish I knew. I've been worried too." Chief Damien sighed deeply, the lines of a worried father etched into his face. "Then I must ask for your help." "My help?" Amanda whispered. "Yes," he said. "If Kenny trusted you enough to come here every day, then perhaps you can help us understand where he might go, what he might be thinking, who he might turn to." Before Amanda could respond, a flurry of motion rose among the security officers. One of them jogged forward to whisper urgently to Chief Damien. Something had come up. The chief's eyes widened slightly. "What? Repeat that." The officer leaned closer. "We found him." The marketplace exploded into murmurs. Amanda's heart leapt to her throat. Chief Damien turned to her. "Miss Amanda, would you come with us?" "Come with you," she stuttered. "Yes," he said firmly. "You are the person he trusted most. If he sees you, he may come out willingly, and safely." The air shifted, anticipation, fear, hope, and uncertainty swirling together. Amanda stared at the chief, her breath trembling. This was suddenly bigger than anything she ever imagined. I'll come," she whispered. The chief nodded in gratitude. "Thank you. Please, get into the car." As Amanda stepped towards the SUV, the entire marketplace watched in stunned silence. The humble food seller, climbing into a billionaire's convoy. Their whispers floated through the air like wind-borne leaves. Aha! Wonders shall never end. I knew her kindness would take her far. What in this world is happening? Amanda settled into the plush leather seat, her hands shaking, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and hope. As the door closed beside her and the convoy prepared to move, only one thought roared through her mind. Where has Kenny been? And more importantly, why did he disappear? The convoy pulled away, engines humming like restless thunder. The journey to answers had begun. The convoy sped down the dusty highway, its engines humming like a chorus of restrained thunder. Amanda sat in the back seat beside Chief Damien, her heart pounding so hard she thought the entire vehicle could feel the tremor. She stared straight ahead, eyes wide, mind racing. They had found him. But where? And in what condition? Chief Damien held his phone tightly, issuing brief commands to his security team through an earpiece. His usually calm face was strained, shadowed with worry. Amanda swallowed hard, summoning courage. Sir, where exactly did they find him? The chief exhaled deeply before answering. At an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Yumyuk village. A passerby reported seeing someone inside the structure, possibly injured. When my men checked, it was Kenny. Amanda covered her mouth, trying to steady her breath. Injured? How? What happened to him? That is what we do not yet know, Chief Damien replied. But my son is alive, and that is what matters. The convoy took a sharp left turn onto a narrow bush road. Leaves brushed against the sides of the SUVs as the vehicles cut through the path like determined soldiers. Soon the warehouse came into view, an old rusting structure with broken windows and walls covered in fading graffiti. Security officers were already stationed everywhere. As the convoy halted, Amanda felt her entire body tighten. The door opened, and a security man extended his hand to help her down. Her legs felt weak, but she forced them to move. She walked beside the chief toward the warehouse. Inside, the dimness swallowed her vision at first. But as her eyes adjusted, she saw movement near a stack of old wooden crates. A group of security men parted. And there he seated on the dusty floor, leaning weakly against the crates was Kenny. Amanda's breath caught, and a sob escaped her before she could stop it. He looked thinner, pale, exhausted. His clothes were torn in places, and one side of his forehead carried a dark bruise. But his eyes, those gentle, familiar eyes, lifted at the sound of her voice. Amanda, he whispered. She ran to him. Kenny, she cried, kneeling beside him. What happened to you? Where have you been? Why did you disappear like that? His trembling hand reached for hers. I never meant to leave you like that. I was attacked. Chief Damien stepped forward sharply. Attacked? By who? Kenny took a slow breath, pain flickering across his face. I overheard a conversation in my father's company. Someone plotting against our family. They discovered I knew. I tried to come to the market that day, but before I got far, they cornered me. Amanda's eyes widened in horror. They beat me up and dumped me here, Kenny continued weakly. They thought no one would find me. I would have been stuck here without help if not for the security patrol that passed this route earlier today. Chief Damien's jaw tightened, fury burning behind his eyes. Those responsible will face justice. Amanda squeezed Kenny's hand. You're safe now. We're here. Kenny looked at her, tears gathering in the corners of his eyes. I kept thinking about you, Amanda. Every day. Your kindness was the only thing giving me strength. She blinked back her own tears, overwhelmed by emotion. Kenny turned to his father, his voice steadier now. Dad, I want to go home. But before that, there's something I need to do. He shifted, grimacing from the pain but determined. He looked at Amanda again, his expression softening. Amanda, when I disguised myself as a homeless man, I wanted to see who people truly were, when there was nothing to gain from me. And you, he paused, swallowing hard. You showed me the purest form of humanity. You fed me when you barely had enough. You spoke to me like I mattered. You saw me not the clothes, not the appearance, not the situation me. Amanda's tears rolled freely. Kenny continued, voice trembling with sincerity. "I didn't disappear because I wanted to stop seeing you. I disappeared because someone wanted to silence me. But even while I lay here, I kept telling myself, if I survive this, I will return to you." Chief Damien placed a gentle hand on his son's shoulder. "We will take you to the hospital immediately. But whatever you want to say to her, say it. You owe her that." Kenny nodded and took Amanda's hands into his. "Amanda, I don't want to lose you. And I don't want you to think you are less because of where you come from. Your heart is richer than all the money in my father's bank accounts." Amanda's breath hitched. "Kenny, I just wanted to help. I didn't expect anything. And that," he whispered, "is why I choose you." Chief Damien turned to her with a gentle, respectful smile. "My son sees what we see too, Miss Amanda. You are a rare soul." Amanda lowered her head shyly. Within minutes, the security team helped Kenny stand and guided him into one of the SUVs. The convoy sped off again, this time to a private hospital in the city. Amanda sat beside him in the back seat, holding his hand the entire way. And for the first time in days, he was smiling. Weakly, but genuinely. The nightmare was ending. A new story was beginning. Kenny recovered quickly under the best medical care. The bruises faded, his strength returned, and within a week, he was back on his feet. But his heart had shifted permanently. Every day during his recovery, Amanda visited him. She brought freshly prepared meals from her shop, meals she made with extra care. Kenny insisted she sit with him. They talked for hours. They laughed. They bonded. They healed together. Chief Damien watched from a distance, silently admiring the young lady who had unknowingly saved his son's life more times than one. When Kenny was finally discharged, the Oluchi mansion hosted a welcome home celebration. High-profile guests attended, expensive cars lined the gated compound, and elegant decorations filled every corner. But the true center of attention was Amanda, the humble roadside food seller who walked into the mansion with quiet grace. People whispered as she passed, some in admiration, others in disbelief. But Amanda kept her head lowered, her humility shining brighter than the chandeliers overhead. When the event reached its peak, Kenny stood beside his father on an elevated platform. Chief Damien tapped the microphone. "Distinguished guests, today we celebrate life, resilience, and divine protection. But we must also celebrate something much greater, humanity." He gestured toward Amanda, inviting her to the stage. Her heart pounded as she walked up, unsure of what was happening. Kenny took the microphone gently from his father. "Amanda," he began, his voice full of emotion, "you fed me even when you had little. You gave me dignity when the world took mine away. You protected my heart without knowing who I was." The crowd murmured in awe. "You showed me a kindness no amount of money can buy," Kenny continued. "And I want the world to know that I honor you. I cherish you. And I choose you." Amanda's eyes widened, her breath trembling. Kenny held her hand. "You once said we should never say no to someone who is hungry. You fed not just my stomach, you fed my soul. And today, I ask that you allow me to be part of your life, openly and sincerely. Not as a homeless man, but as the man who loves you." The crowd erupted in applause. Amanda covered her mouth, tears flowing freely. "Kenny, I never expected all this. I only did what my heart told me. But, yes, I will walk this journey with you." Kenny pulled her into a gentle embrace as the hall thundered with joy. Chief Damien raised his hand. "And from today onward, Amanda is not just a friend of this family. She is family." The applause roared louder. The market women of Izayama later said the celebration that followed was like something out of a royal story: music, dancing, blessings, prayers, and joy that overflowed like the Niger River in flood season. Amanda returned to her roadside shop the next day, but not to pack up. She cooked, served, and smiled as she always did. And soon, people began calling her something new: the roadside queen. Because kindness had lifted her higher than any throne. And love, unexpected, gentle, and true, had found her where she least expected it.